Hello, everyone. Here. Okay, there we have Director Gibbs. Director Gibbs, are you able to unmute yourself just so that we can ensure that your speaking function works? Can you say something to me, Director Gibbs?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I sure can. That's
Loud and
wonderful.
clear.
Great. Thank you for that. A little panicky for that. Talk about down to the wire.
Okay. So we're going to get started right at 6 o'clock. Everyone who's online, thank you for being early. And we will, we'll just hang out for a little bit. Grab that last cup of coffee or whatever you need to do to get comfortable. Because we're going to have a good night here. So we'll start right at 6 o'clock. And just so you know that this presentation is being recorded tonight. Thank you. Hi to everyone who's just joined us. Thank you so much for being here. Just to let you know, we're going to start right at 6 o'clock. So we'll just hang out for a couple more minutes and we'll see you then. Thank you. Hey, I see that it's 6 o'clock, so we'll get started. First of all, good evening. Welcome to the Big White Town Hall. On behalf of the RDKB, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to be able to tell you about the regional district and to get your feedback. This is actually a legislated meeting. We are required to consult and engage with the public before our 5-year financial plan is adopted by the Board of Directors. I'm Anitra Wingy. I'm the corporate officer for the Regional District Kootenay Boundary, and I'll be moderating the questions this evening. And I'd just like to point out a few things before we get started. first of all, we've disabled the chat function in this meeting, but you will have an opportunity to ask questions in the Q&A function. So the Q&A function, if you look to the top of your screen, it's probably halfway along the screen. It'll just say Q&A, and it has a couple of like those speaking clouds or bubbles. So you would just click on that and then enter your question there. However, we are asking that you hold your questions until after we've gone through the presentation, because we anticipate that there might be some questions that are answered in that presentation. So again, please hold off asking any questions until we open it up to that. When it does come time to answer your questions, I'll read them out. And if we see that there are duplicated questions, we'll probably just, answer one. We might get several questions about one topic. So instead of repeating ourselves, for efficiency and time's sake, we'll just read the one question. If you have any technical difficulties during the meeting, we suggest that you try logging out and then logging back in, and hopefully that will resolve the issue. And a copy of this presentation, along with the draft budget, will be on the Join the Conversation. Actually, the draft budget is currently on our Join the Conversation page, the Town Hall page on the RDKB website. So please feel free to check that out. And thank you for being here. So we hope you have some great questions and learn a lot tonight. And we're going to get started. So it's my pleasure to now turn the welcome over to your director, Sharon Gibbs. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Big White Town Hall. It was my call, my choice to hold it virtually this year. I've never had a virtual town hall. I understand the staff had done it during COVID, and I wanted to give it a try. Next year, we'll try something different again. So I just want to welcome the community and thank everyone. And I did get some regrets from the communications director of the Big White Development Community Association and the president of the Chamber of Commerce. They have children at the event. The para snowboard world championships are at Big White, and the opening ceremonies are conflicting at this time. So yeah, anyways, welcome. And for those who made it, thank you for your dedication. And we hope that you enjoy the presentation and this answers some of your questions. So I'll start with the land acknowledgement, and it's in the spirit of respect, truth, and reconciliation. We honor and thank the Indigenous people on whose traditional lands we operate. So there's that. And actually, if we could just move forward. And also, you know what, before we move forward, I want to thank the staff. There's been a pretty heavy load. There's been a lot of people sick and a lot of town halls bunched together. I believe there's 4 this week. So there's been a lot of traveling, a lot of work, as well as their regular work and projects they're working on. So thanks to the RDKB staff, and thank you for community members. I did get complaints and emails last year that there were people that weren't on Mountain and they didn't have the option to join the meeting. We had some technical difficulties with the online presentation. It was just in person last year. We'll try and work on that ahead of time next year and see if we can get either a hybrid or another in person. So thank you for coming. Anitra, can I turn it back over to you to forward the slides, please? So the welcome and introduction will be by Mark Anderson. He's our CAO. Mark's been with the regional district for a long time and planning, and provides great counsel and does great work. So thank you, Mark. If you could take it from here, that would be great.
Absolutely, Sharon. Thank you. And welcome, everyone. I've got the outline of our agenda for the evening up on the screen now. I'll start things off with some brief comments about the regional district generally and how we operate our services. Then the main focus of the presentation tonight is our draft budget and 5-year financial plan. Farhad Hossain, our Chief Financial Officer, will be going through that with you tonight. Following that, we've got a few of our services and programs that we are involved in some initiatives on that we would like to focus on this evening. So after Farhad, we will have James Chandler, our General Manager of Operations and Deputy CAO, speaking about the Recreation and Culture Service at Big White. Following that, we've got Donna Dean, our Manager of Planning and Development, speaking about the OCP process, the OCP review, Official Community Plan Review. And then after Donna, we've got Freya Phillips online. Freya is our Senior Energy Specialist who will be speaking about the Regional District's new one-year-old Home Smart program, as well as our Climate Action Plan. And then following Freya, we've got Chief Josh Foster to speak about the Big White Fire Department and the status of that. Then following Josh, we've got both Mark Stevens, our Emergency Programs Manager, and Carlene Pierce, our Emergency Programs Coordinator, here to speak about our Emergency Management Program as well as our Fire Smart program. Then wrapping things up, we've got Janine Dougal, our General Manager of Environmental Services, here to speak about the waste transfer station generally and to provide an update on the status of that. We've also got a couple of slides related to street lighting that I'll speak to. And then finally, Anitra, who was on initially, will speak to the Q&A. She'll be moderating the Q&A session that will follow the presentations. So with that, I'll move on to the next slide and get going on the discussion about the regional district and description of the regional district. So those who aren't familiar with the regional district of Kootenay Boundary, it is a regional government that consists of 13 separate jurisdictions, 8 municipalities, and 5 electoral areas. You can see on the map of the regional district there, the 5 electoral areas shown in green, yellow, blue, green, and yellow, with Big White in the far northwest corner. So the boundary in the northwest between ourselves and Central Okanagan Regional District is at the height of land at the brake check just before, as you're heading north on Highway 33, you come to the intersection of Big White Road. And further south on our westerly boundary along Highway 3, the boundary is just before you start the switchbacks down to Asuyus. It's about 9 kilometers past Anarchist Summit. And then moving along Highway 3, you've got the municipalities of Midway, the city of Greenwood, the city of Grand Forks, and then into the east end of our region across the Paulson Summit and Strawberry Pass, where we've got 5 municipalities, the city of Trail, city of Rossland, village of Warfield, village of Montrose, and village of Fruitvale, and then the 2 electoral areas A and B, with the easterly boundary of the regional district being about halfway between Fruitvale and Salmo along Highway 3, and then the north easterly boundary just south of Castlegar. The population of the regional district of Kootenay Boundary is 33,152. So of that, 991 are residents of Big White, representing 2.9% of our RDKB population in total. So the RDKB is one of 27 regional districts in the province. We are that green boot-shaped regional district at the bottom, relatively small geographically compared to a number of others. It works as a federation of the 13 jurisdictions that are involved. There are a range of services we provide across the region, 74 in total. Big White as a community participates in about 20 of those, I believe. So when I say participates in, it means you contribute taxation towards the delivery of those services and benefit from those services. So 20 of those services. The other 54 apply to other parts of the region that Big White neither pays towards nor benefits from. So we've got a range of regional, sub-regional, and specified area services. And just to give you a rundown on what those look like, our region-wide services are those that all 13 of the jurisdictions within the regional district contribute to. They include general government, that tends to be the overhead, administrative overhead and governance for the regional district as a government. Regional solid waste management, planning and development, feasibility studies, and that's a small service that provides funding through the 13 jurisdictions to potential new services to get feasibility studies done if communities are interested in establishing a new service. Then there's emergency preparedness and 911 emergency communications that is also a full regional service. There are a number of sub-regional services, and those involve a subset of the participants across the region. So rather than all 13 participants, these include a lesser number. It may be 6 or 8 that participate in a service, or 1 in some cases. So, for example, Regional Parks and Trails is an electoral area E service that spans all of electoral area E beyond Big White, but includes Big White, Rock Creek and Bridesville, etc. House numbering is a sub-regional service. Boundary economic development, building and plumbing inspection. That's a sub-regional service because 2 of the 8 municipalities do their own building inspection. The other 6 are involved in that service, as well as the 5 electoral areas. Electoral area administration and bylaw enforcement is another sub-regional service. Electoral area grant and aid, the boundary integrated watershed service, and our noxious weed service. And then we get to those Big White only services, the specified area services, and they include the Big White Fire Service, Big White Noise Control, Big White Refuse, Big White Security, Big White Street Lights, and the relatively new Recreation and Culture Service. So we're very much regulated in terms of how we establish services through the Local Government Act. There's some statutory provisions. Before we can establish a service, we have to do it through a bylaw. Generally, we have to have the agreement of the residents that they wish to be taxed for that service through either a referendum, an alternative approval process, or a petition. And then generally, the bylaws must include a number of provisions that outline, 1, the purpose of the service, who's participating in the service. Is it just a subset of one electoral area? Is it multiple electoral areas, or is it multiple electoral areas and municipalities? The service area boundaries, and how costs will be shared and the requisition limit. Costs are generally apportioned amongst our services based on assessed values. There are other alternatives, but that is the default in the Regional District of Kootenay Boundary and most regional districts. And then the requisition limit that's included in the bylaw establishes a maximum taxing limit that we can apply to residents for the delivery of that service on an annual basis. How are services funded? Each of our services, and this is once again a statutory requirement, has to operate like it is our only service. It's a standalone service. We cannot transfer funds between services. So we have 74 discrete services that operate independently of one another. The costs are generally shared, as I mentioned earlier, based on property value assessments within the service area. And all costs are identified, including contributions to administration. So, for example, the Big White Fire Service requires some administrative overhead through the general government service, whether that's finance, human resource management, etc. Those costs are allocated to the Big White Fire Service so that the Big White Fire Service is paying all of the real costs of delivering that service. So that's our services in a nutshell. And with that, I'll move on and we can start talking about the budget. And I'd like to introduce Farhad Hossain, our Chief Financial Officer, who started with the Regional District just under a year ago and has been providing excellent service to the residents of the Regional District. Go ahead, Farhad.
Thank you, Mark. We will stay in this slide for a few moments. Welcome, everybody. As Mark introduced, my name is Farhad Hussain. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of the Regional District. I work with our Board of Directors and staff on financial administration. Financial planning and budget is a team sport. What that means is no one person can deliver the full budget. It requires many stakeholders to come together. It operationalizes our mandate, the organization's mission, our board of directors' priorities, and our service work plans. So before I go into details about the budget, I want to give a thank you and acknowledge all the hard work that put together by more than 50 people, our service manager, finance department staff, leadership, RDKB leadership team, and our board of directors. They spend countless hours in preparing and reviewing and bringing you this draft budget. So as Mark pointed out, we provide 74 services. And what is the theme of the next 15 to 20 minutes when I walk you through the full 5-year financial plan? I want to term it as a dollar and cents, not cent, dollar and cents. What that means is I'll do my best to relate the numbers into the services you receive and where is your money going and how it is getting funded. And I will show you the big picture. What is the entire RDKB budget look like? And then I will also talk about more specifics, how things looking like in big white, not entire RDKB, specifically in big white. So out of the 74 services, big white participate in 22 services. But in 2025, they are paying for only 19 of them. 3 services we don't have requisition taxation for this year. For example, the one Mark explained a little bit detail, the feasibility study. This year, we are not imposing on taxation on that. So there are 74 services in the entire region. 22 of them participated by big white residents. And out of the 22, 19 we are putting forward taxation proposal for that. Moving on to the next slide. So this is the big picture, the entire RDKB organization, and it shows how our budget and property tax evolved in the last 10 years. So if you look at the years, we have from 2016 to 2025. If we divide it into 2 parts, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So pre-pandemic years will be 2026, 2027 till 2019. On those years, you will see that our overall budget was less than $40 million. It's around $38.5 million, and 46% of it, around $17.5 million, is funded through taxation. So $38 million budget, 46% is funded through taxation. So now if we fast forward, look at the year 2025, our budget is $95 million. And $34 million of that $95 million is funded through taxation. So that is around 36%. So 36% of all the expense RDKB incur is coming from your property taxes, Where this other 64% is coming from? Those 64% comes from many different sources. And I will talk about the full breakdown of it. We'll move to the next slide. From big picture, we will now zone into the specific picture. The one I think all of you are very interested, how much is my taxes are going up? So this table shows that overall, the cost of service is going up by $174,947. And that accounts for around 4% service cost increase. But this is overall taxation increase. Each resident will feel it differently based on their assessed value, based on their asset class situation and all those things. So that's why we want to put this 4% number in context. What actually it means in a standardized manner. So that we'll look into in the next slide. When property tax goes up or service cost goes up, everybody pays more. But the rate is not the same. There is a variability. So how do you measure things in a standardized way? So one standardized way in the world of property taxation is tax per $100,000 value or tax per $1,000 or assessed value. So first line on the table shows assessed value in Big White went up by around $12 million in 2024 versus 2025. So that's around 7.43%. And I want to unpack this assessed value. So this assessed value has two components to it. One component we all intuitively very familiar with is the appreciation in our home prices. So I own my current home. I bought it for $500,000. Now the market value of is $550,000. So that's one way assessed value increased. Another way assessed value increase, which is I call it the organic growth. That is the new building. What are the new homes being built in this area that also get into the total assessed value? Especially Big White saw a good construction boom. The data I have here about building permit in 2022 and 2023, those 2 years combined, around $62.5 million worth of construction value building permit being issued for Big White area. So I think this 7.43% of assessed value increase include a combination of price appreciation of existing properties and also new properties being built. And the next line shows what is the property tax increase. So property tax is increasing by $174,000 and around 4.35%. So now if you take that on a per 100,000 basis, in 2024, resident paid around $246 for every $100,000 value of their property. In this year, that is going down. It is going down by $7.06. So from $246 in 2024, 2025 proposal is $239. So that's a reduction of 2.86%. So that's pretty much the specific Big White picture. Now we'll shift our focus back to the big picture again. and want to give you a full overview where RDKB spend money, how RDKB fund those expenditure, and we'll look into this expense in many different angles. So before I do that, want to introduce a summary concept, because we have 74 services, but we group them into 6 main categories. And this is very much driven by necessities of life. For example, what are the required services to have a community, to have a functioning community? So those are the environmental services, the services that are required to have a functioning community, those such as water services, sewer services, waste collection services, organics collection services. Those are our environmental. Next big group of services are protective services. And these are services that are designed to provide a safe environment in the community. And that includes our fire protection, big white security, emergency management, building and plumbing inspection, invasive plants and pest management. Next big category is catch-all general government. Catch-all means it has administration. My services, finance services is part of it, same as our administration buildings part of it. Our climate leadership services is part of it. So that's kind of a general government. Energy, climate, sustainability, administration, finance, bylaw enforcement, those all falls into general government. And then we have development in both way, land development and economic development. So planning and development and economic development. Next category is recreation and culture. It includes recreation facilities and grants to recreation societies, parks and trails, library and other recreation services, arenas and all those things. The last but not the least one is the transportation. And the big thing in transportation is what it does not include. It does not include any road maintenance and snow cleaning. It includes transit through BC Transit, the bus service. It includes street lights. So in the next 3 slides, we will look into our expenses and revenue from these angles, these service angles. So moving on to the next slide. So in this slide, you see the expenses categorized, divided into the 6 services I just introduced to you. So out of this $95 million budget, half of it is going to environmental services. What are those environmental services? The services that are required for living, that is wastewater, wastewater, water, garbage collection, and all those. And the next big category is the protective services. So if you take the top 3, that is environmental services, protective services, and recreational culture, these 3 services account for over 80% of the cost of the $95 million budget. Next, we will look into this $95 million expense, but from a type category, not from the service perspective, from a type perspective. Where we are spending this money. 40% of this $95 million we are spending on building infrastructure for future service delivery. And one big part of it is not on the boundary side, most on the Kootenai side. There is a big 3 multi-year project on wastewater treatment facilities. And so that playing a big part on capital expenditure. The next big category is salaries and benefit, and then the contracted service. So if you take infrastructure development, salaries and benefit, contracted service, what are those contracted service? Like your transit, garbage collection, transfer station, those are contracted services, and repair and maintenance. These four contribute close to 80% of the cost. So that's enough talk about cost. Where the money is coming from, what is our funding model, and that we will be talking about in the next slide. So as I gave away, the 36% of the funding for the $95 million budget comes from property taxes. Where this other 64% comes from, a big part comes from senior level of government, both the province and the Fed. They are contributing around 28%. And the next big category is the debt, because a big part of it is infrastructure development. We are also coming up with our part to match the government grants requirement through debt financing. And the next two big source of funding are sales of services, especially with the utility like water and other services. There is a fees for those services. So that's our sales of services that accounts for around 6% of the revenue, and then utilization of reserve. So if we take, let's say, the top five, property and personal tax, government grant, debt financing, sales of service, I think actually these four contribute over 80% of the revenue. Now we will move to the more kind of a close to home. So that's all good. I gave you a really good big picture how the RDKB corporation's budget look like, including all 13 jurisdiction, 8 municipalities, 5 electoral area. But what about Big White? So before I introduce the Big White concept, I want to show you something. Can you see it? It is a loonie, and I cannot find any shinier one. It's an old one. It is from 2015. So what loonie represent? It represent 100 cent. And I'll focus your attention on my left, the smaller circle. So consider the smaller circle, the loonie. And why loonie? You have already seen many circle. Why I'm bringing up loonie and circle right now? Because it capture the full essence of it. The smaller circle represent your full property tax bill. When in June, you will get the property tax notice from the surveyor of taxes, and you take the whole bill, RDKB gets 52 cents of that bill. Where this other 48 cents goes? 48 cents goes to other tax jurisdiction. Who are those other tax jurisdiction? Your school tax, your hospital district tax, your police tax, your BC assessment tax, and all those. So that takes up around 48%, and RDKB gets 52%. Now, where does RDKB spend the 52 cent? 52 cent RDKB gets, where does it spend? RDKB spent it on protective service, so that's 25 cent. Environmental service, that's 16 cent. General government, 5 cent. Development services, 5 cent. And others, 1%, recreation and cultural services. So if you just look at it, all the money, all the property tax you give to RDKB, over 80% of being spent on pretty much two services, protective services and environmental services. Because out of the 52 cent, 25 cent in protective service, 16 cent in environmental service, that around 41 cents. So around 82% of it. So now we know where money being spent. Now I want to take a step back and show you some data from the province. So what province does is when all the planning, budgeting, assessment cycles all being done in April, May, they collect information from all the municipality, all the local government in BC, and they put that information in their website. So that's the source where I got this information. So this is a information source from the province. And what it shows on the top table, it shows the breakdown of your property tax rate per $1,000 of assessed value. How much you are paying for each of the services. At the beginning of the presentation, Mark identified what are the region-wide, what are the area-wide, and what are the big white specific. So if you take all the region-wide and area-wide services, in 2024, you paid around 95 cents for all the shared services. And then you paid $1.62 for your big white specific services. So big white fire, you paid around $1.12. A big white recreation and culture is around 6 cents. Big white refuge, the waste collection and all those, is 27 cents. Big white street line and big white security. So that's bring your total aggregate tax rate per $1,000 of assessed value is around $2.58. And this is looking backward 2024, 2025 number we will get somewhere in May and June, that time period. So now how this $2.57 compare to other RDKB area? Area A, Area B, Area C, Area D, how it compares. So our highest tax rate is now in Area A. They pay around $3.98, so close to $4 per $1,000 assessed value. And Big White is one of the lowest tax jurisdiction. So the Big White pays 95 cents for the shared services, $1.62 for the Big White specific services, and that make the total $2.57. You might have questions about more specific of the budget, which budget is how much money. You saw the total amount is around $4 million, but where we are spending more money. So we'll go to the next slide. As Anitra pointed out, I have all the 19 budget we are taxing Big White for. So you will see the middle section, that was a tax requisition Big White, already being posted on RDKB website. So if you're curious, wanted to know more, you can download and see the details of the presentation. My colleagues will go into more detail on some of the services, how they works, and probably will shed some more light into how to make sense of this dollar and cent we are putting together in the financial plan. With that, I want to pass it back to Mark.
Thank you, Farhad, and I will introduce James Chandler, our GM of Operations and Deputy CAO, to speak about Big White Recreation and Culture Service.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you this evening. So following all that great information from our CFO, relatively short overview for our Recreation and Culture Service. For those that are familiar with it, fairly new service. We've been running a couple of years now investing in this service, and a couple of highlights for what we've achieved and where we're going in the year ahead. And so last year, we were finally successful in working with Community Development Association there at Big White and establishing a contract with them initially for running us for a 3-year term and supporting funding to allow them to hire a community recreation and programming coordinator. That person and the goals of that program is to start promoting local recreation at Big White, developing programs of a whole variety from recreation and culture services. So for those in the community there and on the ground day to day, I'm sure they're very excited to see a lot more come from that, and a lot of activity starting to happen to there. So we're really pleased that that's in place, and hope continues to move from strength to strength. The next one we're looking into this year came up in discussion a little bit last year, is pickleball courts at Big White. So the idea is all around partnering with Big White at their area where in the winter it's turned into the outdoor ice rink. And the idea being that we're going to develop that space, put down some hard paving and turn that into pickleball courts for use in the summertime. And again, that'll be something that the RDKB, working with the community association, then takes on as a programming asset for the community. Now, there's quite a bit of work to do, given the environment, the challenges of putting down a surface that then gets frozen and covered in ice is going to take some investigation. We don't want to do the work and find that we're putting something down that gets quickly destroyed from being frozen and skated on all the way through the winter. So we're starting the feasibility work there, working with Big White. We do have funding in place through community grants. So this isn't something that's currently planned for taxation and costing the service, but the service can certainly support all of the work to put things in place. So as far as the community goes, watch this space. There'll be a lot more information following about that through this year. Another one on the list, we've heard more recently about the ideas of a dog park in the community. So another one that we're going to start investigating this year. One of the challenges with a dog park will be finding a space for it. And dog parks can often mean a lot of things to many different people. So again, it's one we're going to do some investigation, work with the community association on what does a dog park mean. And then it'll be a case of exploring land tenure options potentially with the province, or potential opportunities with Big White Mountain to try and find a space and see if there's something that can be created. And the last one on the list there, trails mapping and signage. So not just at Big White, but throughout the whole of Area E, we do invest quite a bit of money each year to help maintain our trails, put signage and mapping. That's not just for recreation and culture, it has a whole link to tourism and people traveling to the area and through the area. So that's a quick recreation and culture kind of summary in a nutshell. And of course, as with all the other subjects, we'd be happy to get your questions about it later on. Thank you very much. I'll hand it back over to Mark.
Thank you, James. And it's my pleasure to welcome next Donna Dean, our Manager of Planning and Development, to talk about the official community plan review.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to share some information about the planning department and work that we're doing. So we have started a review of the official community plan, which is probably it's around over 20 years old right now. The official community plan outlines a vision for the community. So, it's very much based on community input, and it's a vision, and then we work into that objectives and policies on how we're going to achieve that vision for the community for land use development. So the process was started with a staff member, Elizabeth Moore, back in 2023. There were several meetings with the steering committee over several months or pretty much a year. And we had a few setbacks, including the fact that our senior planner went on maternity leave last September. And so now, well, we weren't able to replace her. We weren't able to find somebody to fill in for the 1-year term while she was off with her baby. So what we've done is we've hired 2 different consultants to work on the project, and we've split it into 2 things. So one is the overall official community plan review, and then the second part is the review of the development permits. We often find that development permits in a plan review get left to the end, and it's kind of a rush job. So that's why we've decided to have them going side by side. And the development permits are around the form and character. So these are the guidelines for developers around form and character for the buildings, and protection of the natural environment and protection of the development from hazardous conditions. And that would include now with wildfires that we will have more wildfire guidelines in there to protect development from that. So we have hired the consultants. We just signed contracts in the last couple of days, and we have Modus Planning, Design, and Engagement that's going to be working on the overall official community plan review, and we have WSP that's working on the development permit guidelines. So watch for public engagement consultation events that are coming up. They'll be on our social media. And those will be, so they'll be doing a lot of background information initially, and then as we get further into the summer and fall, then those public events will be happening. And there you can see also the members of the steering committee. So we have Director Gibbs, Darcy Arnold, Nadia Berg, Anna Byrne, Mike Figursky, Trevor Hanna, Jordan Hatanga, John LeBrun, Joyce Rip. I don't know. I'm going to say her name.
Recipio.
Recipio, thank you. Gord Roland and Josh Foster, our fire chief. Also want to recognize the volunteers that sit on the Advisory Planning Commission for Big White. We have a total of 6 Advisory Planning Commissions in the regional district. You can see the names there. And they are volunteers that are appointed by the board of directors every year. So it's usually the director. So Director Gibbs would make that recommendation to the board, and the board endorses those lists. And what happens is pretty much monthly, we'll send them staff reports that describe in detail the applications that we've received. So that might be for a development variance permit, or it could be a rezoning application, and also referrals. So if there was a forestry referral or something else from the province, like a land purchase by Big White, they would review those and give advice to us. So we really rely heavily on the advisory planning commissions because they have that local knowledge that we don't always have. And so they often bring forward information that we have no idea about. So it's very useful, and we very much appreciate their input. They're not decision makers. It's the board of directors or delegated authorities that are the ultimate decision makers, but they do provide that valuable advice. And their agendas are on our calendar. So if you go onto the RDKB website and you can find the dates that their meetings are being held, and you can link to the actual agendas in those staff reports if you're interested. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. It's my pleasure now to welcome Freya Phillips, the Regional District's Senior Energy Specialist, to talk about our Climate Action Plan and Home Smart program.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Today, I'm just going to give you an update on our Climate Action Plan, which was developed in 2022. And that went through public consultation. Could we move to the next slide, please? As part of that consultation, one of the items that really stood out around what we can do to support residents, not only reduce their energy consumption, but also build resilience from a home perspective, was providing that sort of support. So we've developed what's called RDKB Home Smart. This program is currently supporting around 200 residents in helping their homes become more energy efficient and resilient as well. So looking at those retrofits as an improvements to be made. So what that program does is try and really simplify the retrofit program process for residents. It's a free personalized service, which is really trying to help you at each step of the way when you're going through those upgrades as well. So we connect you with contractors on an approved list. It's actually a provincial approved list, and also things like energy advisors. And one of the other ones we really find really important is about how we can help you access different rebates that are available, especially from the energy efficiency side, but also are becoming more prevalent in kind of the resiliency, and also access to some financing programs that are available through both the provincial and the federal government as well. So this program was actually launched on the 2nd of January last year. One of the things that we really strive to do is build really positive, strong relationships with participants, and really provide an ongoing service as well, with regular check-ins to see how they're actually going through the process. It is a complex process, and we appreciate that, and trying to really reduce those barriers to help people move forward. We've also been collaborating with kind of local programs and also service organisations as well to really find out and be able to help people as well. And we've recently launched a first of its kind guide, which really brings together for homeowners both energy efficiency and climate resiliency when we're looking at home improvements as well. So I do strongly recommend, if you do have time, to access our RDKB Home Smart website, where you can get for free that guide as well. This program is actually funded through Columbia Basin Trust, Fortis BC, and also we're utilising funds that are from the province, from the local government climate action program as well. So we receive funding from that, and we've also put some funding into some of that funding into this program as well. Next slide, please. So just talking about our broader climate action plan as well, I've talked a bit about RDKB Home Smart, but we've also been part of the province's pilot for Home Energy Planner. So we've looked at how we can integrate that within our process, and giving residents an opportunity to really look and explore different upgrades associated with utilising this planner. It is a free tool available within our region. It is not actually rolled out across the whole of the province at the moment, so it was definitely a pilot and lots of lessons learned. What we do say, though, is this is kind of a good step, but something like an energy efficiency assessment is much more tailorized to kind of the individual home as well. Some other activities that have been happening across the region as well, both active transportation plans. So Christina Lake has actually worked on and completed now an active transport plan, which was run by the Grand Forks and Christina Lake Recreation Group. And also our planning department has been working on what's called the South Kootenay Green Link, which is looking at how we can connect those 5 different municipalities and also our electoral areas using active transport. And when we talk about active transport, we mean walking, we mean being able to bike, etc. as well. So really the idea is about to give people options of different modes of transport compared to just driving as well. We've also been doing quite a lot of work looking at our facilities and looking at energy efficiency projects that are available and opportunities, as well as looking for funding for those as well. We do ongoing energy management and monitoring of how we're performing from a consumption perspective, and obviously looking for opportunities to reduce that as well. And, you know, as part of that, we're supporting looking at those energy efficiency programs, projects and programs as well. And last year, we also did a kind of a major rehaul of our building policy. So historically, it had been called our green building policy, and we've revamped that to look at both energy efficiency as well as resiliency and accessibility as well. We've done quite a bit of consultation internally associated, and obviously benchmarking around what others are actually doing as well. It has, I can say, has actually been approved. And also what we did was develop some guidance documentation as well to really simplify the process for people going through as well. Next slide, please. So 2025, obviously we're already in there and hit the ground running. We're looking at extending our RDKB Home Smart for additional couple of years. And so currently seeking out funding for that as well. And also looking at making sure we can look at other opportunities to collaborate with community organizations as well. There's some really quite generous, currently some generous rebates, incentives out there, especially for a range of different residents. So we want to make sure we can help them access those. So, and some of that is doing that through community organizations as well. We've also commenced the development of what we're calling greenhouse gas emission reduction and resiliency pathways for our key facilities. So while we've looked at kind of energy efficiency, maybe for particular facilities, what we're trying to do is look at a more consistent approach across our different facilities. So the first stage of that is raising some funding to do that feasibility study. And second stage will be this year, hopefully, once that funding's being obtained, actually looking at engaging consultants to support that work as well. That's actually quite a big project for us from a consulting perspective. We're also in the process of reviewing and updating our low carbon fleet management plan. So that plan looks at kind of current government policies and future government policies, and how we can transition our fleet long term to kind of low carbon fleet as well. And in 2025, we'll be continue to working on energy efficiency projects and looking for funding for projects for our facilities as well. And we have a couple of policies to be updated. As I mentioned, we've just completed our new building policy, and we're looking at doing some amendments to our fleet replacement policy as well. Thank you. I look forward to any questions at the end of today's session.
Thank you, Freya. Next up, we have a familiar face in the community, Chief Josh Foster, to speak about the Big White Fire Department.
That's the comment of the last few years. Hey, you're on mute. But anyways, thanks very much, everyone. Good to have a chance to chat and talk about the fire service. But hopefully everybody understands that you're obviously welcome to swing by and see us at the fire hall and check out what we've got going on. But just a few updates here really quickly. Some accomplishments from 2024. As we discussed in the town hall at Happy Valley last year, the purchase of the new rescue truck, Rescue 311, and then also the purchase of our new Engine 311. Those apparatus have been in service, the engine since January, and the rescue just over the last, earlier in the year, and then the rescue just recently. So they've responded to several calls. They're working great for us. The rescue is much safer, moving up and down the Big White Road, which is really great. Some other big projects that we accomplished, we were able to install a backup power generator at the fire hall. That allows us to operate as an emergency operations center or a satellite emergency operations center for any incidents that we maybe need to manage within the regional district, where we can support that effort with our emergency management program. And the good news is that was funded through UBCM grants. So we were able to secure a $30,000 grant for that, which was great. And then on top of that, last year we also secured another UBCM grant for training and equipment for another $30,000. And then moving forward into this year, we also have some other grants that we're working on. So 60,000 in grants last year for quite a few projects. Some of you may recall, for example, the fire that we had in Snow Pines. And what we learned at that fire is that some of our nozzles didn't perform as well as they could and should have, although the crew did an exemplary job knocking down that fire. So we replaced all of our nozzles, for example, with the UBCM grant, and that's about $16,000 worth of nozzles that we've got on our trucks now. So when we get into those snowy and icy conditions, they'll be performing a little bit more as we would expect. Although they did work, we struggled with them, so that's why we replaced them. This year, moving forward, another grant opportunity with $40,000 from the UBCM. And that'll go towards some upgrades at our training facility, as well as some equipment going on to some of our trucks. Bigger items in 2025, we have a 3% increase in our tax requisition, which totals $52,000. But overall, our budget is being reduced by $14,000, and our cost per thousand is actually down 4%. We did have our Bush 311, which is our forestry truck. The pump failed in that truck. It was a 2003, that truck. So we sent it to Beaverdale. We took the pump out of it, and now Beaverdale is using it as a rescue truck. So we sold it to them. But that leaves us short a truck. So I seem to be the fire chief that has inherited a bunch of older trucks. The rescue was a 2002, the Bush was a 2003, and the engine was a 2007. So, or 2007. So we were just due to replace those apparatus. So big expense for this year will be the replacement of that Bush truck. That construction has already started. We should see that prior to the wildfire season this year, and wildfire is our biggest concern. So that's our focus with training and equipment and apparatus. We've got a very comprehensive resiliency plan. We're working with the emergency management team at the RDKB to develop that, and I know that they're going to speak about the Fire Smart program, which we're incredibly proud of the accomplishments that we had last season with Carlene and Mark's support to grow that, and we look to grow that even further into the summer of 2025, so that we can live in a safer place. Really, is what it comes down to. So if we can go to the next slide. This is where we're at for incidents. Actually, the 2025 number is now 79 since we sent this in. As you can see, the vast majority of our calls are medical incidents, hence the upgrade to our rescue truck. Alarms calls are down a little bit, which is great. You can see the big number in 2022. That was due to smoke detector placement in the Big White Staffacom. For some reason, the smoke detectors were installed right over the stoves. So we managed to get those changed over to heat detectors, and then that has changed our alarms calls. But we're really pleased with seeing the reduction of alarms calls, and that just means that building managers are doing a great job with working with residents in their accommodations, and our inspection program is quite robust. and we're working with the community to look at that prevention side of things. Fires last year, you can see there's a pretty significant number. Those are mostly smoke-related calls, but then also the big fire in Snow Pines, which was managed, as I said, quite well with our crews. Motor vehicle incidents are down in 2025. Those 2024 motor vehicle incidents, though, the bulk of those were in December with a significant amount of snow in December. It sure would be nice to see a bit more snow now, though. And we're on target for probably seeing at this rate, we'll probably get back up to that 280 to just under 300 calls for 2025. With regards to staffing, we've just recruited a new deputy chief, which has been a great process. We're able to recruit another internal member, which is good, and we'll get that person started up quite quickly here. When we lost our deputy chief operations and training, we moved Deputy Chief Dominic Carlisle, across from prevention and life safety to operations and training, and he's hit the ground running. His passion and enthusiasm for the community is second to none, so he's doing an incredible job there. Our current work experience program is also doing an incredible job. What a great group that we had this year. You know, they're coming to the end of their time with us in April, and we are currently in the recruiting process of our WEP 24, which will be 24th year of that program. And we've just received another significant influx of applicants. So we're looking forward to having another successful work experience program join us for next year, which is the significant component of what we're able to do in terms of response in the community. They're a vital component to everything that we do at the fire hall. And we've got our rooftop camp out coming up in March. And those in the community are probably familiar with that. That's the big fundraiser that the work experience program do. So we hope to see you out there in the village and supporting our team. And that is it for me. But like I said, happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation here. And then please, by all means, you're welcome at your fire hall to stop in and see the apparatus and have a chat and a coffee. We always have coffee on. Fire halls run with coffee and diesel. And we'd love to see you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Josh. And sticking with the fire theme, I welcome Carleen Pierce to talk about our Fire Smart program.
Great, thanks, Mark. My name is Carleen Pierce. I am the Fire Smart and Emergency Program Coordinator for the Regional District of Kootenay-Mountry. As Josh alluded briefly in his presentation, part of our emergency services is we deliver the Fire Smart program. And the Fire Smart program is provided to 5 electoral areas and 7 out of 8 of our municipalities in the RDKB. The City of Rossland manages their own program. Our program is 100% grant funded by the UBCM Community Resiliency Investment Fire Smart Community Funding and Supports Program. So without this funding, we wouldn't be able to deliver our Fire Smart program to the region and hire our incredible staff to assist with wildfire resiliency in our communities. So we're extremely grateful to be able to receive this funding from the province. With our program, we work to engage residents in voluntary wildfire mitigation activities by offering a professional home assessment with property-specific recommendations that are tailored to your individual property. Our mitigation specialist last year was stationed out of Big White, so he had plenty of opportunity to be able to engage with our residents directly at the Big White Resort. Although he serviced all of Area E, we were able to conduct approximately 62 assessments in the Big White community last year and 40 the year before. So we're on an excellent trajectory for having the community engaged with obtaining these Fire Smart assessments and hope to continue that again for this year. Our staff will start in May of this year, so they will go through their wildfire mitigation specialist training and will have somebody specific to hopefully the Big White area again is what we're hoping for, and they will service Big White and all the way down through to Carmi and Beaverdale. But really hoping to be able to focus all of our efforts on continuing to assess a lot of the strata properties up in Big White, as well as the detached homes there too. With our mitigation specialists, they don't just conduct home assessments, they also attend community events. We've had a couple really successful community events up in Big White with the collaboration with Big White Mountain Resort, as well as the Big White Fire Department. We hosted host the community cleanup last year in June, had approximately 100 to 150 people, and had the opportunity to have FireSmart's marketing company site partners film a video specific to the community cleanup event. If you're interested in checking that out, you can look on the FireSmart BC website and look into their videos, and they have the Big White community event hosted there. We will be looking to host that event again this year for 2025. It's looking to be the 3rd week of June, so really hope to have some excellent community engagement out at that event. Again, we'll be offering a free chipping service for anyone who is looking to clean up some vegetation on and around their property. And we'll stay tuned for further information on that event, and we'll be getting some information out fairly soon in the next couple of months as well. We also deliver FireSmart education to schools, through elementary schools and day camps and high schools, and as well as educate our residents on how communities can be less impacted by wildfire. And we try to attend as many events as we can. So if you are interested in either, hosting an event and would like to have us there, or you have a large group that you'd like to have a presentation in regards to FireSmart, we'd be happy to come up there and deliver that for you as well. Last year in 2024, closer to the end of our program, we were able to launch our residential rebate program. It's a really exciting program for us. Once you have got a FireSmart home assessment from one of our mitigation specialists, you can start working on the recommendations that are in your report, and you can be potentially eligible for receiving a residential rebate on those activities. So things that are included in that is anything that we may have recommended for changes on maybe your building materials or clearing some vegetation around out to 30 meters of your property. Those would be eligible activities, and our application intake opens in May of this year, and you can have rebates up to $5,000. So it is a 50% cost share program. If you're maxing out at $5,000, you need to spend $10,000 to get the $5,000, but really excellent incentive to be able to get some of that work done and get some funding back for completing that work around the house and building your resiliency. This year, we are launching our new approved contractors program. So it's a RDKB contractors approved list, and we are accepting applications for any contractors that are focused on building, or any foresters or arborists or landscapers that would be interested in being on our list that we will be providing to our residents throughout the area. So the idea with our contractors program is once our residents obtain a FireSmart assessment, we'll be able to offer them a list of contractors in the area that have the information on the FireSmart principles, and we'll be able to do the work for them on their property for some of those mitigation actions that have been recommended in their reports. If anybody is interested in applying to be on our list, please reach out to us at firesmart@rdkb.com, and I can provide you with the information and the application to apply. Also, we are really enhancing our interagency cooperation with our Community FireSmart and Resiliency Committee and our community planning tables. It's where we are able to invite agencies as well as emergency services personnel and professional foresters on to work collaboratively on how we can start building our wildfire resiliency and reduce our risk throughout the region. So that has been a tremendous success. We've had a few of our resiliency meetings thus far, and it's really great to be able to start collaborating and working together in order to be able to reduce our wildfire risk throughout our communities. Also offering wildfire readiness training to our fire service personnel through our grant funding as well. So as Josh mentioned, biggest threat in Big White that they're mostly concerned about is wildfire. And so we are able to offer some funding towards training to be able to make sure that all of our fire service personnel are fully trained and available and ready to be able to respond to wildfires. If anybody is interested in signing up for a free FireSmart assessment, please reach out to us at firesmart@rdkb.com. We'll add you to our 2025 waitlist. And once our mitigation specialists start in May, we'll be contacting our residents on a first come, first served basis, working off that list to book appointments to be able to schedule an assessment. And I think that's all I have for today, but happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Carlene. And next up, we have Mark Stevens, our Manager of Emergency Programs, to speak about our broader emergency management program.
Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everyone. As was said, I'm the Manager of Emergency Programs with the Regional District. We run a full-service emergency management program for all the electoral areas and the municipalities within it. We've been getting more involvement in emergencies over the last number of years, whether that's fires, floods, heat waves, pandemics, landslides, structural collapses. These events are causing more activations from our team. But our team is very well experienced, and we work very closely with our partners in emergency management, whether that's Emergency Management Climate Readiness, which is our provincial partners, with BC Wildfire, MOTI, our partners with Big White Resorts, and other critical infrastructure providers across the regional district. New to emergency management is the Emergency and Disaster Management Act that came into force in November of 2023. And we just got through the first year with it. Definitely some new changes to that legislation that are affecting us. We expect further changes this fall when they release the regulations that will dictate how we go about doing these new these new changes that the provinces put onto us. And so we look forward to the release of those regulations to provide some clarity for us and be able to further plan out emergency management in the years to come. One aspect of emergency management that we take care of is emergency support services. This is a legislated responsibility where every person in British Columbia, any resident, is provided up to 72 hours of emergency support if they are forced to leave their house, whether that's from a gas leak or a structure fire, or being evacuated due to wildfire. We have teams across our regional district that come out and set up reception centers and register people to get those services. Our team in Big White is currently looking for new members. If you're interested, we'd be happy to connect you with the folks to connect that, to get that service, to get that opportunity before you. And what last thing I wanted to talk about was the great collaboration that our emergency management team has with Big White Fire, and the amount of effort that we put into making sure that we are communicating and sharing our plans so that we are on the same page and being able to respond accordingly to any emergencies that are within the community. And with that, I'll turn it over back to Mark, and I'll be on to answer any questions at the end.
Thank you, Mark. Next up, we have Janine Dougal, our General Manager of Environmental Services, to provide an update on Big White's solid waste management.
Thank you, Mark, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to join us. I'm going to talk briefly about the Big White solid waste management and what happens at Big White with waste and recycling products that are generating. Next slide, please, Mark. So how it works, as Farhad had mentioned earlier in the presentation, there's two services that Big White pays into associated with solid waste management. That is one being a regional solid waste service. I call it the 010 service. And one is a specified area service, very specific to Big White, and that's called the Big White Refuse Service. For the regional solid waste service, this program covers costs associated with recycling, as well as infrastructure costs, and the recycling that's provided both in bin form to the multifamily units and commercial businesses, as well as the transfer station infrastructure as well. The Big White Refuse Service pays for such things such as the garbage collection and hauling of that material to Kelowna, both again from the multifamily units and commercial businesses in the bins, as well as the transfer station. It also pays for transfer station operation maintenance. We have various contracts associated with that that service pays for. When your garbage is ultimately hauled to the Glenmore landfill in Kelowna, where it's disposed, there's tipping fees associated with that, and that's paid for the Big White refuse service as well. Next slide, please. So garbage and recycling services are what I call the bin services. We have blue bins and other, and the I think they're a burgundy bin for recycling, if I remember correctly. Those are provided to commercial and multifamily units. And for the multifamily bin provision, it goes to 10 units or greater. They're provided with what's called a waste room. And it's at least one waste room or more waste rooms, depending on the size of the development and the needs of that development in managing their waste stream. For the transfer station, which is also garbage and recycling, we have two compactor units in the main building, and that is provided for use by fundamentally those folks that don't have the bin services that are provided across the mountain. Garbage is ultimately disposed at the Glenmore landfill, already mentioned that. And then at the transfer station, we also have an express and go system that's provided through Encore, which is a stewardship program that's tasked through the recycling regulation, a provincial recycling regulation, to manage end of life bottles and cans and that sort of thing that have deposits associated with it. So at the transfer station, as I had mentioned, we have various contracts associated with overall service provision. We have transfer station and maintenance. We have the bin provision services as well as hauling. We have the compactor bin rentals as well as the recycling processing, which goes to Cascades in Kelowna currently. So when your recycling is collected from the mountain, it all goes to Cascades where it's processed into various material types and shipped to markets. That costs us money to do it. Next slide, please. So what did we do in 2024? Obviously, the big thing that happened for you folks in 2024 was transitioning the Big White transfer station into an attended facility. Prior to 2024, the facility was open 24/7, and we had a number of operational issues associated with that site. And so we basically moved into an attended facility. The winter hours of operation are in place from November 1st to April 30th. And it's open 7 days a week, including stat holidays. So if even if a stat holidays falls on one of those days, the site is still open. And the current hours of operation are 9:30 till 5:30. And the summer hours that will be happening will be May 1st to October 31st. And it's going to be open 5 days a week, again, including stat holidays if it happens to fall on one of these days. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, same hours, and closed Tuesday and Thursday. In 2024, we actually spent, and you'll see a little picture there in the bottom corner, we spent about $54,000 at the transfer station in providing upgrades, including the office building, some cameras, as well as updated signage and that sort of thing. We actually ended up getting $50,000 of that paid for through grants, which is great. Next slide, please. So what's going well? Certainly, from hopefully your perspective as well as ours, we've got a much cleaner and tidier facility. So when people go to the facility, it's a more appropriate place to take and visit, and not have piles of garbage that is not being managed appropriately. We didn't have any incidents of vandalism in 2024, so certainly a huge thank you on that one. We have an on-site attendant who's able to provide information and help people actually figure out where to take their materials if we can't accept it at the transfer station. So that is obviously an added benefit. And the disposal outside of the gates, certainly this was a major concern that was identified last year by residents as well as us. It certainly is happening, but it's actually not to the degree that we were anticipating. It's still not great, but it is quite minimal. We're currently utilizing camera footage to determine kind of when it's occurring, so that we can figure out what the potential rationale behind that is. An interesting fact that as I went through the financial expenditures for the year in budget processing is we actually paid quite a bit less in tipping fees for waste disposal in 2024 compared to previous years. Historically, we've been on the average about $90,000 a year in tipping fees, and we actually ended only paying about $65,000 in tipping fees in 2024. So it will be interesting to see if that trend continues. And I want to look into a little bit more detail about from the Glenmore landfill and trying to get a little bit more data on why that might be happening. We don't have any current plans to change the hours of operation of the facility. It's sort of year one, but certainly what we are trying to do is generate data associated with usage patterns of the facility for future considerations. Next slide, please. So just a little bit of waste generation statistics. I like statistics, so I thought I would pass some of these on. Generated through our commercial multifamily buildings or the bin service, we generated in 2024 or managed 457 tons of garbage, which is about 80% of the waste stream, and 116 tons of recycling, which would be the 20%. Similar numbers being generated at the transfer station level, where we handled 159 tons of garbage and 46 tons of recycling. Next slide, please. So future considerations, what's happening in 2025 and probably future years. Well, I'm happy to announce that the extended producer responsibility programs that we've been working with Recycle BC in establishing a depot drop-off at the Big White transfer station. If for those of you who may not be familiar with Recycle BC, they are the stewardship organization that manages and is responsible for end-of-life recycling of packaging and printed paper materials generated from the residential sector. So right now at Big White, if you come to the transfer station, the recycling that we accept does not include flexible plastics, styrofoam, or glass containers. That will change. As we work with Recycle BC, we will be setting up a different scenario at the transfer station. We're working with Recycle BC right now to figure out what that needs to look like. But ultimately, you will be able to, if you're a residential customer of that transfer station, including multifamily buildings, you will be able to now divert styrofoam, flexible plastics, and the glass containers, which is going to have hopefully a significant influence on additional waste diversion programs. Unfortunately, Recycle BC cannot be tied to the commercial side of things based on the BC recycling regulation. So certainly as we move into opening up this facility at the transfer station, we're going to have hopefully quite a bit of informational materials for residential customers, multifamily buildings, and we'll be wanting to coordinate and connect with building managers for multifamily residential based buildings to see how their current waste rooms might be restructured to accommodate if they want this new diversion program. It won't be mandatory, but certainly we want to work with folks to see if we can increase diversion opportunities at the mountain. As Carlene had mentioned earlier, there's going to be a community cleanup event. I believe the date is June 21st. And we're obviously partnering with that and going to be providing a bulky item pickup event as well, as we've done historically in the past. The one thing that we are looking to try and coordinate, in addition to our regular bulky item event, is a large appliance and electronics. We're working with the stewardship programs right now for those two components to see whether or not we can get a drop off for those products as well at that same time. So stay tuned for that. The other thing that we're going to be looking at doing, last year I certainly heard from some residents of multifamily bins, multifamily bin services, and even the commercial side, that the current collection days for whether it be garbage or recycling wasn't enough. We were having struggles with when those collections were happening and how frequently were with overflow materials having to be brought to the transfer station. And so we definitely want to be looking at it, reviewing that, and potentially adjusting and working with our hauling contractor to adjust those schedules to potentially meet community needs a bit better. Again, it's tied into this whole Recycle BC depot, so that the overall collection program may change slightly as well. And then the other thing we're going to be starting in 2025 from a regional solid waste perspective is we're going to be updating our solid waste management plan. And right now we have a plan that is a 2006 document that was approved by the province. We have a number of different activities that we need to go through sort of in advance of starting that. And it'll probably take a good couple years to get through that process. But certainly there will be, we'll be looking at what services we're providing with respect to solid waste and diversion programs. And we tend to look forward at, a 20-year future of what does solid waste management look like. And certainly with the growth of Big White that is going to be coming in the future to be a more year-round destination and mountain biking and all of those sort of things, we need to consider that in our planning processes going forward. So that's also something that we'll be initiating in 2025. And with that, I believe that's my last slide. Happy to answer any questions at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janine. We've got one more service that I'll speak to very briefly before we turn it over to Anitra again to facilitate the Q&A session. We operate a Big White streetlight service, and Goran Dankovsky, our Manager of Infrastructure and Sustainability, is the lead on that. There's a minor increase in the budget for that one this year in terms of the requisition, 3.3%. There is some interest we've been hearing about additional lighting on new trails and future trails. And we'll be working with the community as part of the Big White official community plan to see what the community's wishes and needs are with respect to additional street lighting at Big White. Currently, we've got some money set aside, $68,000 in reserves at this point that we can access to add additional street lighting as well as the requisition from this year. And we'll be working with Fortis on a strategy to replace some of the outdated lights there. So currently at Big White, there are 3 owners of streetlights that are they're responsible for lights at Big White. There are the Stratas, there's Big White Resort, and then there are the publicly owned lights. And those are the lights that we own. What I would suggest to you, if you don't know who owns a light and there's a problem with it, to please contact Goran Dankovsky. His contact information is there, and he can look into who the owner of the light is, whether it's a Strata light or an RDKB light or one of the Big White lights, to see who needs to replace it. Or if there are areas in the community that you've identified that you feel need additional lighting, dark areas that have been problematic, please give Goran a call and he can look into that. He's been working over the last few years with key stakeholders from the community to identify some of those dark spots and work with Fortis to provide additional lighting in those areas. Fortis is a little bit restrictive in that they're only willing to provide the Cobra lights on existing poles. So there are some limits in terms of where we can put new lights, but Goran can certainly help you work through that if there is a need there. So I encourage you to contact Goran if you do see a need. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Anitra Wingy, our corporate officer, to go through any questions that folks may have. And it's an opportunity also to speak with Sharon Gibbs, the director that represents Big White on our board of directors.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you to everyone for sticking with us. That was a lot of information, and hopefully it's inspired some questions, and hopefully you've learned something new. I know I do every time I listen to one of these. So now it's the interactive part of the evening, and we're going to start off with a couple of quick polls just to find out what's most important to you, and also where are you coming from? Are you a non-resident, full-time resident, part-time resident? So stick with me. This is the first time we've used this format, so we're just going to try here and see if it works here. Something's happening. Okay, can you all, hopefully everyone can see that? Can one of my colleagues let me know if they can see that?
Certainly can.
Okay, great. So don't worry, your names won't be recorded. So it is anonymous, but we are going to share the results. So if everyone can just take a moment to do that, I'll give you a second. Look at the results. So we have 60% of you are full-time residents, and oh, it's changing. I love this. Changing in real time. Okay. So based on 6 responses, we have 50% full-time, 33% non-resident, and 17% part-time resident. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next poll now, and that's about our services. So let me just launch this one here. That one going. Hopefully you can all see that one. Mark, can you confirm?
Absolutely, I can see it.
Wonderful, thank you. So we'll give you a few extra moments. It's a lot of services, and hopefully you don't just have to pick one, but we would like you to rank them if you can. So I'll give you a few moments for that. And those of you who don't want to participate in the poll, totally fine, but maybe you're thinking of your questions. And when you are ready with your questions, we ask that you put them in our Q&A. So remember, that's the little icon at the top that has the little speak bubbles, question mark, and please feel free to put those in there. Looks like we have someone with a raised hand. So we are not going to actually do the chat, but we're just asking that you type your questions in to the Q&A. Like that. That's right. Okay, I'm going to share the results of those now, just for fun. Fire department, right on top. Planning, building inspection, street lighting. We've only had 2 responses, so we're going to give you a few extra moments. So keep thinking of those questions too.
Hey, Anitra, this is Janine.
Yeah.
Just to give you a heads up, the polls are coming up on my version of this under the chat. So just in case folks are not able to find the polls, if anything is looking like mine, it's actually coming up under the chat, even though the chat itself has been enabled, or you can't use the chat, but you should be able to provide your responses in there. So just a heads up.
Thank you, Janine. For us presenters, well, for mine, it came up right big and bold in the center of the screen. So thank you for that, Janine. So hopefully you've all been able to find that. I apologize if it wasn't clear. Our department's still out on top there. Should make Chief Foster happy. Just want to remind you that this presentation and the recording as well as the draft budget documents that Farhad mentioned earlier will be on our Join the Conversation page. So if you just put in RDKB, join the conversation, it'll take you to a page where you can click on Town Hall. And then on the right-hand side of that page, you'll see something that says budget documents and presentations, and you can find that information there. Also, if you have questions that maybe you didn't think of tonight that you'd like answered, please contact us through that. And I can either answer or one of my colleagues can. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Well, does anyone have any questions? I'm not seeing any yet.
There are 3 in the Q&A.
Okay, there we go. How exciting. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. We have a question here. It says the Q&A is not available in the personal version of Teams. Many could not participate. Oh, goodness. Okay. I apologize for that. We weren't aware of that. I wonder how many people are on the personal version of Teams. In that case, like I mentioned earlier, Diana, I'm sorry about that, and to anyone else who can't access that feature, I would suggest that you can either send your questions directly to me. So I'm corporate, CORPORATE at rdkb.com, and I can push those questions out to my colleagues as needed. And or you can go on Join the Conversation and leave your question here. So I apologize if you're not able to do that tonight. And Michelle says, we can't access the poll questions. Can you advise what we should do? Are you able to see that in the chat function, Michelle? Because my colleague Janine said that it was under the, yes, and as Vivian said, it's in the chat function. So hopefully you've been able to find that. The other thing you can do, again, is go on Join the Conversation and say, I attended last night's town hall meeting and I'm a full-time resident or part-time. And again, your name is not revealed to us. You usually have, you know, like your username. So, or you can just email me and say, I was at the town hall meeting and just want to let you know that I'm a full-time resident, part-time, resident, that sort of thing. Okay. Any other questions?
There are questions in the Q&A, Anitra.
Okay. Seen some here, but new posts. Okay, I see. They're coming in. I'm only seeing the one about more questions in the published. I see. Okay. Okay. So the first question we have is regarding bulky items pickup. I'm going to refer this one to Janine. We appreciate the June date. Would suggest that a fall date is also planned, as that's when many owners finally do their renovations before ski season. And a pickup in the fall would probably be more popular and beneficial than the June date. Can you answer that one, Janine?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for that suggestion, Alan. We'll definitely keep that in mind as we look at service provision and how we can improve. So thank you for that suggestion.
Okay, we have another question here, and this is on the budget. So this is probably where Farhad will want to get in. Quite a few questions. This is great. First question. While I get it that it looks like Big White is the smallest for 100,000 contribution, our total dollar amount represents 34% of the total requisition from the RDKB, or 14% of the total budget. So Alan is asking, what is the total dollar amount spent or allocated to Big White? Maybe we'll just let Farhad answer that before we move on.
Thank you, Anitra. Thank you, Alan, for thinking about the budget. I always like when people put their mind to the numbers and really try to make sense of it. So my first comment on our total dollar amount represents 34% of the total requisition from the regional district. I'm not sure where you got this number. For example, if you can refer back to the very second slide, is it possible for Mark to change the slide to the very second slide?
I sure can. Yeah.
On the finance very second slide. Yeah. Next one. So Alan, if you can see here, the total budget is 95 million, and the green bar represent the property taxation. So that's 34 million. And out of that 34 million, how much we get from Big White? So that is, we get around 4.2 million. So 4.2 million divided by 34 million, that gives around 12.35%, not 34%. So that's my first comment. And so on your next one, why did the budget basically double from 2020 to 2021? What additional services do RDKB take on? That's a great question. Yeah, actually, yes, it did doubled, but from 38 million, actually more than double, because pre-pandemic, if you remember the story, pre-pandemic is around 38 million. Now it's 95 million. So it's pretty much doubled. We got lucky. We got lucky for a couple of capital project, including a wastewater treatment facility on the Kootenay side. We got a $46 million worth of grant for a multi-year. So not for only 2025, 2026, and probably part of 2027 as well. So that's what actually driving this, the capital project and the senior government grant, that's is driving the size of the budget more than doubled. And will it continue past, let's say, when the project is over? I don't know. If we can land on another big grant, why not? But these will be not impact your tax dollar. That's why you will see pre-pandemic level, even 2019, your proportion of the tax funding is actually decreasing. Before it was pretty much half and half, around 46%, 45% to 48%, those just under 50% property tax funding. But now in 2025, this is 36%. The proportion of property tax is actually decreasing, is because we are lucky to land on some really great grant. My colleagues, when they did a deep dive on the services, they mentioned all these different grant we are getting, apart from the wastewater treatment facilities, in our climate action. My colleague mentioned about the Fortis grant and other services. So all these grants are adding up to kind of lower the burden of taxation on residents. And then on the refuse disposal, the actual cost are 303K, what the budget is 505K, more than 270K. Actual, we also had a savings of 166K on 2024 budget. What happened to these surpluses? So that's a great question. That will take us to kind of join the conversation web page, and where we have the Big White specified service, the refuse service budget 064, and we provide the full detail of that budget in that page. So any surplus, let's say we plan to spend $100,000, but we actually end up spending 95. So you have $5,000 surplus or 5% surplus. That get into the next year revenue to offset your tax requisition and other cost. As Mark alluded when he set up how actually RDKB services are established, each service is like their own independent business. They have to cover their own cost, and they have to come up with their own revenue. So it is not like municipalities where there is one big pot for a lot of services. If you live in, let's say, city of Vancouver, or even in city of Trail, any municipality, they do service differently versus a regional district. In regional district, if there is any surplus, it stays with the service. If there is a deficit, that service also need to cover that deficit if there is any accidental. We normally don't plan for any deficit and surplus, but things happen, so that it stays with the service. I hope I answered your questions.
Farhad and Anitra, I can potentially provide some additional detail on that budget if that would be helpful. So with respect to the question on the surplus for the 064 budget that's being referred to, in my presentation, I had talked about some infrastructure upgrades that we had conducted at the site. Some of that infrastructure upgrade was budgeted as far as maintenance items in the 064 budget, but we actually got a grant that we didn't realize at the time of budgeting that we would be able to utilize that grant for those infrastructure upgrades. So that resulted in an overall cost savings. That's why we didn't spend as much of the budget. In addition to that, I mentioned in my presentation that we also didn't spend as much on tipping fees. So in 2024, I had budgeted about $90,000 in expenses for tipping fees. We only spent $65,000, so that also created surplus. And then the other aspect of the cost that we didn't incur that we thought we might was around the contract associated with the maintenance of the transfer station. We had budgeted a certain amount based on what our expectation of that contract value would come in, and it came in less. So that surplus that we achieved in 2024 shifted over to the 2025 budget, and that's what sort of artificially inflated the 2025 budget to show a value of $577,000. But what's happening with a significant amount, almost 100,000, if I remember correctly, of that surplus, I'm actually putting towards reserves, so that we can have monies in reserve to increase services and pay for increased costs, with ultimately not increasing your taxation rate. So that's the intent of the reserves. So as it sits right now, the proposed taxation increase for the 064 service is at 1.5%. And then for the regional solid waste service, we're sitting right now at 1.93%. So hopefully that provides you some additional details. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Farhad and Janine. Now we have a couple of questions from Catherine. She asks, is there an emergency evacuation route out of Big White? So I'm guessing either Josh and or Mark Stevens can answer that.
Yeah, I can definitely answer that. So this is a good question. Yes, there is a route, and that route is Big White Road. Big White is the community of Big White is a one-way in, one-way out community, and so we've developed a number of plans in order to help prepare for an evacuation if it ever comes, and they essentially guide us to push ahead the normal evacuation time frame to allow for extra time to leave the community. If that route is cut off, there are other avenues, and we also have helicopter evacuation mapped out as well for that community, for Big White community as well.
Thank you, Mark. Catherine's second question is around recycling. So this is for you, Janine. She asks, can we increase the weekly recycle bin pickup at Big White? They come on Wednesday to empty the blue bins, and I am loading my truck up from Friday to Tuesday so it does not pile to the ceiling. She has a supplemental comment that the recycling issue is for Strata that she manages. Thank you for that question.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for that. And yes, please, that's one of the things that I talked about in my presentation that we want to look at and connect with building managers and strata folks that are having challenges with existing services so that we can understand who all and what buildings are having challenges. And then we can look at how to potentially change the services required to meet those needs if we can. So right now, the way it works is it's very challenging for the collector to come up to the mountain and only service, for example, one building with additional recycling needs. That is going to be very challenging for that contractor to complete in a cost-effective manner. So we really want to get a feel for what are the challenges directly, what's potentially influencing your challenges, and what we can look at doing as far as addressing that. So please somehow send me a contact if you wouldn't mind, or even in the question answer as a response to one of your questions, if you could put in there which building you're referring to, we can make sure that we try to reach out to make sure that we have the appropriate contact information to touch base with you to try and see what we can't do going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Janine. Okay, the next question is from Sandra. She says that the second draft of the financial plan was available in the February 26th Board of Directors agenda. It was made available online. She says, why not attach that draft to the Join the Conversation page so that people can view it before coming to the meetings? And can you explain to others where they can locate it? That one's for you, Farhad.
Thank you, Sandra. I think that's a great idea to have the full entire financial plan also posted in and join the conversation. It is already a public document, but what we are trying to do is with all the town halls like area A, B, C, today's area E, Big White, we try to customize it a little bit more. So RDKB provide 74 services. Out of that, Big White participate in 22. This year they are paying for 19. So we try to minimize cognitive load on the resident. Why don't they look on the 22 they participate rather than the 74? So we already posted a subset of the February 26th agenda, the relevant one, the 22 that is relevant to Big White. We already posted that on the Join the Conversation platform before the meeting.
Thank you, Farhad. Okay, we have a question from Alvarel. She says, I have a question regarding the cost for Big White specific services that were mentioned on one of the slides. I'm guessing this is one of your slides, Farhad. The comparison was with other areas and ranking the cost per area. I noticed that while Big White pays the least overall, it pays the highest in comparison and specific services. Could you please clarify why that is? And thank you for the time and walking us through the budget. Thanks for the question, Avril. Did you want to take this one?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I'm mute. I was talking and then I'm mute and not on camera. Thank you for the question. Yes, even though for all the shared services, Big White pays 95 cents pretty much per $1,000 assessed value. And why for Big White specific services the cost is higher? And if you look at the top of this the top table, the main driver is the fire hall. Fire hall, it's covered a wide area. It has to comply with the standard. As the chief did the deep dive on the services, he had to replace, he got a lot of old equipment, the engine from 2002, the rescue truck from 2003, and the very old equipment, and renewing those and also maintaining the fire hall. So that is the kind of a big bulk of the cost, and for kind of providing this essential service, we cannot lower our standard. Like the chief in Big White need to have the provincial requirement for qualification and all those things. So all those costs add up to meet the standard and provide the required level of service the Big White community deserve. So that's what drive the cost. And for the detail, I'll rely on Chief to kind of add on. Over to you, Anitra.
Okay, thank you, Farhad. Okay, we have another question from Sandra, and it's specific to the Boundary Economic Development Service, which we know is Service 008. She says, how does this service benefit Big White?
I could, this is James here, I could jump in with that one. So essentially, for the levels of taxation, there's a bunch of flow-through costs in the regional, the municipal regional district tax incomes that come through that service. So if we just focus on in terms of what tax dollars are collected for, there's two primary projects and programs that service is focused on and continues to fund, and it's one that's shared right throughout the boundary. So that's the very eastern sides of Area C and Christina Lake, right through to the whole of Area E. And we are focused on developing plans for a community forest and supporting a partner organization, a non-profit group who are developing food hub and food recovery programs. So those are the two main areas that we're supporting in funding for this year. The community forests are a long-term investment where we're hoping to find tenure and develop a community forest and a partnership with the Osoyoos Indian Band. And long-term, the goals will be that that's something that can then bring benefit, employment, and money, economic development funds back to all communities throughout the whole boundary. And Big White one day would be one of those recipients. As I say, it's a long road with a community forest, but that's one major initiative. And the other is the food recovery and food hub programs. And I believe, although we're not running it hands-on ourselves, it's through a partnered non-profit group that are running those programs. But the food recovery program that is supported through and actually run out of Grand Forks recovers a lot of food. And I understand that through that distribution network, a lot of those food sources have made themselves to those in need, even as far up as Big White on some occasions. So those are the major things that service is supporting at the moment. There's a few other elements to it, and again, I encourage, if you've got some direct questions about any of those line items in that service budget, again, you can throw us a question on Join the Conversation or contact us directly. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Now we have a question from Jordan, who asks, why does Big White fund the McKelvey Creek landfill if all of our waste goes to the Glenmore landfill in Kelowna?
Good question. Thank you so much, Jordan. So what Jordan is referring to is the McKelvey Creek landfill is actually our regional solid waste facility in the trail area that serves primarily the Kootenay side of our regional district as a disposal facility. So the reason why Big White pays into the regional solid waste service is as when that service was established for solid waste services, Big White was a part of that. That's the whole point of a regional service, is that everybody pays into all the services associated with solid waste management, which includes not only the landfills that we operate, but also administration, transfer station, hauling, recycling programs, all the different aspects of solid waste management, public education and awareness, and that sort of thing. So that's where regional district and Big White specifically pays into that regional solid waste service. The other thing to note that although your garbage is taken to the Glenmore landfill in Kelowna, that is actually a facility that's operated by the Central Okanagan Regional District or City of Kelowna, and is not actually within the regional district of Kootenay boundaries, shall we say. So the only reason why we're actually able to take the garbage to that facility is because they have graciously allowed us to continue to do that. I haven't done a financial analysis, but based on the tipping fee values that are being charged at the Glenmore landfill, I can guarantee you that those tipping fees are not covering the full costs of operation of that facility. So I appreciate the comment regarding payment for McKelvey. Yes, you're paying ultimately into facilities that you don't directly utilize, but you're also getting a very good value for the tipping fees that you are paying for the waste that goes to Glenmore. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. And Diana had a similar question. She says, similarly with the hospital situation, our taxes don't go to Kelowna General Hospital, but any injuries are sent there. That might be a question directed at our CIO. Mark, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, certainly we don't operate the hospitals, and we do have, there is a regional hospital district that we're not directly involved in, but it's the same concept that there are regional facilities that are paid for throughout the region that not necessarily everybody benefits from or participates in, but they are regional by nature.
Thank you, Mark. I'm not seeing any other questions, but if you do have some, please feel free to throw them in there. Again, I apologize if you're unable to do that because you don't have the Q&A option. If that's the case, please reach out to me either corporate@rdkb.com. If you have a specific question for one of my colleagues, I'll be happy to pass that along. Or again, you can put your question and join the conversation. And look at that. Oh, we just got another question. Hey, thank you, Sandra. Okay, she says the RDKB received a grant for roughly $1.7 million, the BC Growing Communities Fund. How much of this grant will be made available for Big White? I would like to see some of this go to the Big White Fire Department. Great question.
Do you want me to comment on it?
Yes, if you would like to, perhaps.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for the question. And I also received an email from you through our CAO about the same topics. And so this is about allocation based. There is different way to allocate the funding base. For example, our taxation is mostly on a value of property, so assessed value base. But there are some community, there are some services when they do it on a parcel tax basis. Our federal government redistribution based on not on assessed value or anything, on a per capita basis. So when province announced BC Growing Communities Fund, they didn't look at property assessed value. if they did, actually Big White should get a bigger part because the property asset value is much higher than surrounding areas. They did it based on per capita, based from my memory, what I remember. And then our board also had a decision to make. I don't think there is any, you can argue either way. And I'm not aware of any new growing community funds coming. The one we got, I think 2 years ago, that's been allocated to different areas and to different projects. And if new fund being announced by province, I think they are doing budget today. They did budget today or probably this week. And definitely we will share your idea to our board before any final decision about new funding on the community growing community fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Farhad. Hopefully that answered your question, Sandra. But again, if you have follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to Farhad or to me or one of my colleagues, and we'll speak further to that if we can, when we can. Any other questions? Mark, I think can you progress to the last couple of slides there? I think there might be one available, and that's contact information for Director Sharon Gibbs, for those of you who don't have that. And I'm not sure if, would you like to say a few things, Director Gibbs, at this point in the evening?
Thank you, Anitra. Yes, I would. I'd just like to thank everybody for paying attention and coming to this presentation. I'm always available, call, text, email, and I'm happy to answer any questions or meet with you. Likewise with the staff, there's join the conversation, or if you go to the RDKB website, it does have all the contact information for all the staff that you've seen here too. And I want to thank the staff for working tonight, and I also want to thank everybody for their patience with the virtual presentation. There were a few glitches. I had a bit of trouble getting on too, but all in all, I think all the information was presented, and like Anitra said, if there are any questions, please reach out, because I'm here to represent you. The staff's here to work with the board on the direction we take, and we want to hear from you. It's really important. So thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight.
Thank you, Director. I do see that Sandra had a supplemental, and that was the question regarding the Growing Communities Fund was for you, but perhaps the two of you could connect via email or phone conversation, if that's amenable to both of you, and then you can maybe dive more deeply into that conversation, if that's okay.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of details for her on that, so I'm happy to give her a call tomorrow.
Fantastic, thank you. I don't see any further questions, but of course, if you do have them, just to reiterate, please send them through. You can email, put them on Join the Conversation. We'll endeavor to answer those questions as fully and quickly as we can. Really appreciate you sticking through it. I know it's been a bit of a long evening, and there's so many other things you could be doing, but this is really important to us. For residents, and we really care deeply about what we do, and knowing that you're interested and engaged is deeply gratifying to us. So thank you, and thank you for the very thoughtful questions. Really appreciate that. So if we don't have anything further, just letting you know, join the conversation. There's documents there, opportunity to ask questions, and if you have friends or neighbors who weren't able to participate tonight, just refer them to join the conversation, and they can find all that great information. And we have some thank yous coming in. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Okay. Good night, Big White.
Good night.